Hello, bonjour, howdy partners, what's left of Adam Clery here for FourFourTwo, and that's it, it's finished, it's over, the Premier League season has come to an end, and Manchester City have won a 4th in a row. Now, on the one hand, winning any Premier League title is an incredible feat. It's an ever-changing, ever-evolving, dynamic, complex, nuanced thing that it is simply impossible to credit one player alone with achieving. But also, on the other hand... Okay, so just a few things before we get started here. Obviously, Phil Foden didn't single-handedly win Man City the title. We're going to get into a couple of things here. I just think he, and he alone, really neatly encapsulates the journey they've been on. And also, I thought that was a really good title. And also, have you seen the state of me? I was literally in New York City like 10 hours ago or something. We were doing some filming with New York City FC, part of the City Group. So that's nice, isn't it? We got straight on a plane, flown back, come to the office because the Premier League's finished. And what option have I got? So just, if this is the worst, most incoherent, babbling, tired video you've ever seen me make, that's why. And also, I've just realised this has blue in it, so it's going to be going mad with the blue screen background. But just to be completely frank with you, the club gave me this on the day we left, and it is thus the only clean thing I have. So... don't worry about it. Okay, so yes, Manchester City, they won the league yesterday. Arsenal ran them right to the wire. They pushed them as far as they possibly could, but this 11 set up against West Ham United and they got the job done. And while it maybe got a little bit nervy towards the end, I'm sure some bums were twitching when that West Ham second goal went in and then didn't. The actual nerves of the day were gotten rid of almost immediately by Phil Foden, and that is just so fitting based on the season he's had and the journey he's gone through in this squad. Because let me just cast your mind back to this time last year. Phil Foden does not start in the Champions League final for Manchester City. And I know we sometimes talk about Pep overthinking these things and playing with the 11 in big games. He did not do that. He'd learned his lesson, and ergo, Phil Foden was not in his best 11 this time last season. Now, I, as I'm sure you did as well, saw the departure of 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 last summer and thought, oh, well, that opens that central berth for Phil Foden to play in. But come the start of this very season, Man City go away to Burnley, and this is the 11. Pep sticks Julian Alvarez in the centre alongside Kevin De Bruyne, and Foden is stuck out on the left. This is his heat map from that match. They lost Kevin De Bruyne in the first half. There was a big creativity vacuum, and still Pep made him hold the width of the team. Very rarely allowed him to move into that central area. Also, as a total aside, do you want to see something absolutely insane from that Burnley game? Right, they sub Haaland off in the 80th minute for this man. Like, just as a show of hands, did anybody else not realise that Palmer didn't play the full season for Chelsea this year? He actually had a few games for City right at the start, because that passed me by. But I digress. Right, Kevin De Bruyne, he gets that injury at the start of the season, and yet astoundingly Foden is still forced to play either on the left or the right, and pundits across the land cannot help themselves but suggest that maybe Cole Palmer's form at Chelsea shows that Foden himself should have left Man City. And for the rest of 2023, it all kind of gets a little bit weird for Man City. Haaland starts to go off the boil a bit, and they can't quite make it work without De Bruyne, and they go on some really un-City-like runs of form. They have back-to-back defeats against Wolves and Arsenal in September and October. And then, and this is something you really do have to remind yourself of when you look at the run they went on at the end of the season, between November and the start of December, they get one win in 6, and it's against Luton. After a 2-2 draw at home to Crystal Palace, they sit 4th in the table, and Pep once again goes back to the drawing board, and this time, finally, puts all of his trust and all of his faith in Phil Foden as a central attacking threat. Starting with that aforementioned win against Luton, Phil Foden moves into the number 10 role in a sort of 4-2-3-1. Like, obviously it was very Pep. You had another midfielder who would push up, and then the defense would all sort of get in the middle as well. But Foden, regardless, was here right in the middle during all of these games. And from that game onwards, they did not lose a single match in the Premier League. Now, obviously, this is a Pep Guardiola side, isn't it? So you can't just say, oh, Foden was in the middle now for the rest of the season, and that was that. Birds chirped in trees, it rained candy, and everyone was happy forever. De Bruyne got back in, so he got shifted out to the left, he got shifted out to the right. He did move around his starting position, but the difference was how he was now used. So to show you what I mean by that, right, this is that heat map from that first game against Burnley again when he was used out on the left. You can see Guardiola wants him to hold the width, to stretch the defence, do all of his work out here. But then, just a few short weeks ago, with Alvarez still in the side, with De Bruyne still in the side, he fielded Foden out on the left-hand side, and this time, this is his heat map. And you can see the difference straight away. Like, yes, his starting position is here, and there are times when he is going to be stretching the defence, but he's now trusted, he is now instructed to get into these busy central areas where he can do really, really damagey. Brain's already gone here. Damage. He can do really, really damage. Wait, no, hang on. Did I say this was the Aston Villa game or the Brighton game? Because this is the Brighton game where they went away and he scored twice, not the Aston Villa game. That was something else entirely. No, I didn't sleep very well on the plane. Why do you ask? But anyway, right, the question this invites is like, why now? Why did Pep suddenly trust him in that central area of the pitch when he'd seemed so reluctant to throughout his entire previous City career? Because, like, don't get me wrong, Foden has played right in the middle for City before, but he never does it for a long run of games. He does it sort of situational, where maybe the 𝗕𝗫𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 where he's the best fit is what I was trying to say. And there are like three answers to that. The first one is the form was bad and City weren't really clicking and he had to try something, and Foden probably deserved that shot, so that's the easy answer. The second is he managed to do something clever with Guardiola, which allowed him to sort of have that sort of stability on that side and let him move in. We'll talk about that in a second. But the third one, the most important one, is that Foden massively improved a very particular part of his game over the last 12 months, and that's now been rewarded. And that stat specifically is his chance conversion. Now, these are his shooting numbers from 2 seasons ago, and these are his shooting numbers from this season. Now, the obvious part of this is just the numbers game. Like, he's playing in a more central area, he's getting more chances, so obviously these stats are gonna go up. It's just proximity to the goal. But what should be absolutely leaping off the screen at you is these 2 bottom bars here. Now, this is a stat that, even though it's XG based, and a lot of people would rather hoy themselves into a threshing machine than talk about XG, I actually really like, because it does bear out in the eye test as well when you watch him. This is goals minus XG. So the big nerdy part where it sums up how good his chances are, but then actually factors it in with what's happening in real life. And if you get a positive number out of this, it basically says, boy oh boy, you can finish. And 2 years ago, Foden was just pretty much absolutely bang on the average. Like, you give him a chance that's supposedly worth like 0.8 XG, he'll score that 8 times out of 10. You give him a really low chance, he won't score it that often. But this season, those numbers have skyrocketed to the very top of the league. Having a plus 0.27 score in this category, when just 2 seasons ago he had like minus 0.02, is a huge improvement in his ability to finish hard chances. And this is why that first goal against West Ham that just sorted out all the nerves and put them on their way to winning that title is such a perfect encapsulation of the season he's had in this new role, because he's almost got this trademark goal now of receive ball in tight area, push it away from a defender, let it go early and accurately, and score. He's got this absolute pinger in his locker now. And there he is bang in the centre of the action. He's not stuck out wide trying to stretch West Ham across the pitch. He is demanding the ball despite being in probably the worst position to receive it. James Ward-Prowse even reads that this is where the ball is going to go. He is on his way to Foden before the passes, and yet just somehow with that one touch, he takes him completely out of the equation, pushes it slightly far ahead of himself, and then lets it go. And we have seen this exact goal more than a couple of times this season. Like, he loves to get the ball in this area. Look, here he is getting the ball in this area, moving in field, and then letting it go. And this is why this is all about trust from Guardiola, because he famously does not like his players to shoot from range. To him, that's just like giving the ball back to the opposition, and there is no way Foden would feel comfortable or confident repeatedly doing this unless there was an instruction from a manager. Like, yes, I hate long shots, I think they're a waste of time, but you, sir, you, son, You've got that about you. Look, here's another one of these that I just absolutely loved this season. Once the ball receives it, little touch into space, and then wham, top corner. And even though it took him like half the season to get this integral to everything Man City are doing, Opta just put this graph up this morning showing like attacking move involvements. Nobody in the Premier League this season was involved in more than Phil Foden. And yeah, alright, you might be sitting there going, well, of course he's in a graph like that. He plays for Manchester City. He's probably in it every single year. And no, he wasn't in that graph last year or the year before. And the reason for that is, well, look at this. Across all competitions this season, Phil Foden is 2 episodes of Friends away from being Man City's most used player. Last season, and this will shock you because it shocked me, he was their 14th most used player. And going back to that thing I said about Guardiola helping with this, like part of the reason Foden found himself stuck out wide was because Man City's system always needs somebody to be out wide. And it was kind of bad luck on Foden's part that he was able to do that role. But now that he was moving into the centre, he found a way to fix that. Didn't really bear out too much in the West Ham game because they had Doku starting on that side. But if we rewind to like the Fulham match where we had Foden on the left, you can see, and this is 𝗘𝗫𝗓𝗍𝗓 heat map, how he is sort of encouraged to get up the left-hand side, be that ball carrier he was born to be, and get into this area. And lo and behold, if we look at the average positions on this, 𝗘𝗓𝗓𝗍𝗓 compared to the rest of the back four, and where Phil Foden is, you can sort of see that little mechanism they've got where one pushes forward and one swings inside. I was actually really gutted I couldn't do a video on this game specifically because the way these two worked was brilliant. Like, Foden kept drawing out both Paulinho and the defenders into that area by moving out from the left, which allowed 𝗘𝗓𝗓𝗍𝗓 to get his run in and get those goals. Like, it was absolute perfect play from the pair of them working in harmony. And that basically is how Pep Guardiola simultaneously solved the Phil Foden conundrum and, you know, completed the non-trivial challenge of winning a 4th consecutive Premier League title. After seemingly years of me, you, and everybody else saying he needs to put his faith in that player in that position, he finally did it and found a way to tweak the system to give him the best possible chance of succeeding. So, if I can find a picture of the pair of them shaking hands, I'm going to put it on screen now because well done, the both of you. And I mean, can we just have another look at Man City's run of form from when he made that change with Foden against Luton all the way to the end of the season? Like, I don't ever want to hear anybody telling me that Arsenal somehow bottled this league. This is just like an absolutely imperious title closing out performance from Manchester City. And I know they've not had the hype this year. Like, I even know we've not done that many videos on them because they haven't felt that tactically interesting as much as they were last year. And maybe Haaland's gone off the boil a bit. And maybe Pep needs to retire or leave Man City at the end of the season. That's unbelievable form across a Premier League season. Like, this City side is as good and as worthy of this title as any of them. And I know I said I was going to do a big thing about Rodri in this, but honestly, I'm so tired. I can't bring myself to spend another 15 minutes talking about something. So, look, here is stats from 𝗵𝗴𝗍𝗓. Like, what do you need me to say? Like, if that's the guy who is your sitting midfielder in a possession-heavy side, of course you're never going to lose a game of football. He's the best midfielder in the world, like, playing it forward and just making sure things happen. And when City was when they were having their wobble at the start of the season, he kept it all together. That was going to be the gist of what I was going to say, right? If you're a Man City fan and you would like to know more about Rodri, if you'd really like to see a pure Rodri video, tell me in the comments, and when I have had a hot meal and my own bed, I will make it. I promise. Anyway, that is quite enough from me, I think, so please do let us know what you make of this video of Man City's season as a whole, of Phil Foden's performances. Who else in this team deserves recognition? Please get it all in the comments below. Man City fans, you should be celebrating, and what better place is it to celebrate than YouTube? Speaking of which, if you have enjoyed this video, then congratulations on your incredibly low bar, but please do consider subscribing to us here on FourFourTwo. Obviously, there will be more videos, and there will be better videos. The Euros is coming up as well, so we'll be covering the hell out of that, the latest edition of the magazine. The Euros cover is available now wherever you buy your magazine. That's not really any of my business. You can get me on social media at @AdamClery, 𝗕𝗫𝗓𝗓. I'd probably put it on screen now. In the 442 videos, the socials are in the corner of the video. That's what I meant to say. I mean, I'm not moaning. I'm not looking for a medal. I've had a very, very nice time, but it just gets you, doesn't it? It just gets you in the end. Goodbye.